The course you're taking went through a very careful selection process in everything related to the content and the instructor. Think about your future and where you want to go. Focus on your professional skills. We believe education can make anyone a winner. Conquer new possibilities. Enjoy this class.
Welcome. You are about to enjoy a new free live online class. Here are a few tips for you. In case this video stops for any reason, the best thing to do first is to refresh your browser window. That should do it. Click on the little icon on your browser to refresh, or you can even try the function 5 key at the top row of your keyboard. Clicking that should refresh your browser a couple times. I recommend using Google Chrome as your browser. You can watch this class, the size live right on the page as it comes, or you can even click on the little button on the video player to watch it full screen if you'd like. If you have questions, comments, and even snide remarks, we want to hear them. So click on that chat box and interact with us. We're here for you and we want to hear your questions, comments, and snide remarks. Are you having issues with audio? Well, first things first. Let's make sure that the audio, the volume on your speakers are turned all the way up. So check that. Also, there's a separate volume control in the actual video that you're watching that you can adjust the volume. You can either lower it or increase it. So make sure it's turned all the way up. And for the best class experience, I recommend headphones. Are you having issues with echo? Do you hear things twice? Make sure that you only have one browser window with this course open at each time, because that could likely be the echo issue. And don't forget, there's always a free replay of each class that you can watch. So stay tuned in our schedule so you don't miss that. Enjoy your free class at Curious Mondo, where you conquer new possibilities. Welcome to Curious Mondo, Pokemon tips and tricks and cheeks, Pokemon GO. We're so excited. You know what? We do all kinds of trainings here at Curious Mondo, but we are true geeks at heart. We have pretty much the whole studio playing this game, so we were like, why not do a training just for that? Since we were all kind of sharing the different tricks, I'd go to Landon, what are you doing for this? What does this do? What is that? And we're like swapping tips. So we're like, let's do it online so that other people can join us and actually learn from the training as well, and we can learn from them. So, housekeeping items before we dive right into the content. This is an interactive class, which means if you like something that we say, or if you don't like something that we say, or if you have a tip or anything like that, use the chat box below the video to tell us, to interact with us. I'll get it right here in my tablet, and we'll announce whatever it is that you said, and we'll interact with you that way, okay? So use that. This way we know that you're out there. So say hello, leave us your comments and tips. Use that box. With that, I think we can dive right in, right, Landon?
Sweet, yeah.
I'm Nash. This is Landon. Landon is he's the guy usually behind the social media stuff here at the studio. He does some of the set design, and he recently taught a class as well. He likes to cook. So, all right, so Pokemon GO.
Pokemon GO. Yeah, so this game, I believe, came out on the 8th of July.
So just a few days ago.
A few days before the 8th. And I've managed to get to level 12. I've got a few things waiting for me when I get back to that. And you managed to get to 16 in 4 days, which is...
Level 16, yes.
Yeah, you surpassed me in much shorter time. So what we want to do, because there's a lot of things that Pokemon GO has, a lot of different utilities, the different applications, but they're almost not specific enough with how to go about it. So there's a lot of things on the internet, a lot of conversations about how to get more experience, where to get the coins, what happens when you take over a gym, and how do you actually claim your own gyms.
Yes, like even for me, a lot of it is just up in the air kind of thing. You kind of have to figure it out as you go. For me, my first experiences with gyms were horrible. Like I'd die and I didn't even know how to tap or what to do in order to make something happen out of there.
Yeah, so the environment's, it's very organic. You gotta dip your feet in to figure out how to play.
Yes. Cool. So first we thought maybe it would be a good idea to go over, so basically first, what is Pokemon Go? What if we explain that? I actually have a slide on the computer here with Landon and a little bird. What's his name?
That is Pidgeotto, I believe.
Pidgeotto
Yeah.
on Landon's head. But the cool thing about Pokemon Go, it basically bridges the augmented reality with the real world. And so you're playing this virtual game, but in the real world, right?
Yeah, there's actually a thing that you do in the original Pokemon games. Like, in order to hatch eggs, you know, you have to move around a lot. And people are seeing other people in the real world doing the same actions you would have been doing in the game originally.
Yeah, oh,
So
that's cool.
It's a really interesting connection of both, because we end up doing what we were doing in the video game years ago.
Uh-huh. That's really neat. In fact, Landon, I couldn't believe it. Like yesterday I went to a park last night, and it was maybe 10 o'clock. It was even past the park time, and there were dozens of people there, and it's insane because we're all just looking at our phones and kind of chit-chatting, and it's really crazy to see this because we're all so immersed in the game, yet we're out in the social thing. So it's really neat. But how does exactly the game work? Before we dive into the terminology, what is Pokemon Go about for those of you who are new at it?
So Pokemon Go is a game to capture Pokemon and train them as well to become the very best, like no one ever was. And it uses GPS location and your phone camera as well to find Pokemon and capture Pokemon and to level up. The main objective as of right now, I think we're early in the game. They recently updated it to 1.0, which is kind of like the official release, yeah. So there are going to be a lot more content, and I assume they're going to be incorporating a lot of different ways to interact with other players. But right now, it's going up your rank until you get to an area where you get a lot of strong Pokemon and a lot of rare Pokemon too.
Okay.
Finishing that Pokedex.
Yep. Yeah, is it the ultimate goal to finish the Pokedex? Make sure you capture one of each Pokemon, basically. Nice. Yeah, that's one of the cool things about this game is that as you progress in the game unlocks for you with new features and more things. So keep that in mind. So now, okay, there are lots of terms, different terms in this game. So tell us about, for example, what is CP? We see that a lot.
Yeah, so CP, the first time you encounter it is in your very first Pokemon encounter. When you start the game, you'll be presented with like one of the starters on the GPS, and you have to click the Pokemon to get to it. But CP should appear on top of Pokemon when you see them, and it stands for combat power.
Okay.
And it's just a number to assign how strong they are.
Okay. So you're going to use this later on, for example, as you're battling in gyms, because then you know how powerful this specific Pokemon is if you want to use it or not. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, there are different stats within the Pokemon, but it's just a good overall term, the combat power is.
Okay, great. How about XP?
So XP is a classic term, which is for experience. And Pokemon in Pokemon Go don't obtain the XP, but the trainer does.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of different ways to collect XP, and the more you get, the better you look.
Uh-huh. And that's also how you advance levels, right?
Yes.
So level 1, level 2, level 3, the more XP and on. The more XP, more experiences you have, the better a trainer you are, and you advance in those ranks. How about, let's see, gyms. What are gyms?
So gyms are places to go to train your Pokemon, and right now it's the only place for battling other trainers. So a gym is a location, for whatever reason, has been given a little bit of specialty, a little bit of novelty to it. I mostly see churches. They tend to be popular here in Utah. But there's also some random memorials, a lot of different, I guess, geological locations.
Geographical?
Geographical.
Oh, geological, like actual, like a lot of them in parks, you mean?
Yes, a lot of them
Okay.
are in parks. And so you go to gyms, you battle the trainers there, they leave Pokemon and you interact with them, you gain experience, and you gain a little bit of credit for it, just to say, hey, look, I own this gym, everyone look at me right now. Of course, they'll end up battling you anyways. But so that's the brief gym. There's a few more things to go into there, such as how to battle at the gym, the experience you're getting from the gym, and how to reap the most benefits from it.
But we'll go a little bit deeper into that a little later. How about incubators? We hear about incubators and eggs. What are the different types of eggs out there, and what are incubators?
So incubators are one of the key items that you'll be using a lot through Pokemon Go. One of the main ways to get Pokemon besides finding them is by hatching them. And you do that by putting an egg inside of an incubator and walking a distance. Different eggs have different distances. There are 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, and then 10 kilometers, each of them having their own set of Pokemon. And you need to have an incubator active in order to get your distance cataloged.
Gotcha. So basically, if it's a 2-kilometer Pokemon egg, that means you need to basically walk for 2 kilometers, but your Pokemon needs to be active, right?
Yes, with the game needs to be on in order to get the distance.
How about then Pokestops? We hear a lot about these.
Yes, so Pokestops are, I think, the most plentiful, I guess, feature in Pokemon Go. And Pokestops are where you're going to be finding a lot of your items, such as Pokeballs and potions once you get to slightly higher levels. And yeah, as you progress through the levels, you'll be getting more items. And Pokestops are assigned to random geological locations. What's the difference between geological and geographic?
Geographic, basically, the geographic location, I believe, is what you're looking for, like an actual point in the map, whereas geological might be a big, like, rock formation, something somewhere.
So there are different statues and different, I've seen a memorial bench before, but the Pokestops are where you'll go. You'll go up to the Pokestop, and you need to be in close proximity, a walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you'll be able to click on the Pokestop, swipe on the picture, and then you'll get your items.
Yes, and you're going to do that a lot, right? Because that's how you get your potions and your revives and things to work that you'll use as you progress in the game. In some, like for example, here in Utah where I'm at, Salt Lake, there are tons of Pokestops all over the place. I hear some places, some regions, maybe out far in the country, don't have as many.
Yeah.
But basically, generally speaking, downtown anywhere, you're going to find a lot of action, whether Pokestops, gyms, and so forth. Now, you mentioned Pokeballs. What do you do with those?
So Pokeballs are the way to capture the Pokemon.
Okay.
It's the classic interaction. Pokemon stands for Pocket Monsters, and the Pokeballs is how you get those giant monsters into a small area. And so you'll be swiping your screen and throwing the Pokeballs at the Pokemon when you encounter them to catch them.
And there are different types of balls, right? So you have the classic
red and white.
Red and white. Then there's the blue one, the big ball they call it.
Blue and red is the Great Ball.
Great Ball, yes. And then I haven't seen it in my game yet as I've been playing, there's a black and yellow one as well?
Yes, the black and yellow is called the Ultra Ball.
Oh.
And I believe at level 20 is when you'll start seeing those Ultra Balls.
I'm getting there. All right, so what else? Let's see. Then there are some things that you can get in the store. For example, incense. What is incense?
So incense is a way to attract Pokemon to your location, and it lasts for 30 minutes. Usually you'll randomly be encountering Pokemon, and you'll be checking your game to see which ones may be slightly closer to you. But when you have your incense on, they'll be naturally appearing while you're walking around.
They come to you.
Yes.
Now, what's the difference between that and lure modules?
Yes. So lures are there are occasionally on Pokestops there'll be a pink almost like leaf effect or maybe hearts floating around. but the lures attract Pokemon to the Pokestops. The incense attracts the Pokemon to the individual player, and lures can be almost used between multiple players.
So basically, multiple people can benefit from lures, whereas incense, only you benefit from it.
Yes.
Right?
And using the incense, there seems to be an inclination for you to be getting more Pokemon if you are moving around. So it's slightly more beneficial to be possibly riding a bicycle or jogging while using an incense.
Oh, I thought I noticed that playing myself. Whereas the first time I used an incense, I was just sitting on my couch at home, thinking, "Oh yeah, they're gonna come to me." And I got a few, but it was sparing. Like it wasn't a lot.
Like a magnetic effect.
Yeah.
You got to move around in order for it to catch on.
To find. And how about Pokecoins?
So Pokecoins it's a different type of in-game currency. And originally, when you first start the game, you'll see Pokecoins and say, wow, that you have to spend money on these things. What are these for? And they're a great way to unlock those specific items. The lures and the incenses, you will be getting those as you level up, but sometimes you might just want a little more extra Pokemon running around, and so you'll go to the store option in the game, and you can buy more Pokecoins, and then you can purchase the other items. But there are also another way to get Pokecoins as well.
Yes, and we'll talk about how to get the Pokecoins for free, essentially, a little bit later on today. What are those items that you can buy in the shop? So I know you can buy a backpack to expand how many items you can carry, because there is a limit, right? What is it? I think it's
350 when you start.
350 when you start, and then you can buy a little backpack, and that'll take you to 400. There's also a Pokemon like drive that you can store your Pokemon in, so it increases the amount of Pokemon you can carry. I don't know the number for how many.
I think 250 is the default.
And then it takes it to 300 if you buy that. And then you can buy little packets of Pokeballs, and you can buy the incense or the lures, like he said, and a few other things, I'm sure. But essentially, that's the shop. However, you don't need to buy any of that in order to play. You can play without Pokecoins. You can play without purchasing anything inside of the shop.
But a really, I guess, a good purchase, a good bang for your buck, if you want to donate something to the Pokemon Go app, there are also egg incubators that you can purchase.
Yes.
So you can hatch multiple eggs at once, and you can really start cranking out those Pokemon. The
really neat thing about hatching the eggs is that you get new Pokemon, basically, right? Just out of the blue, boom, without having to chase for them or anything like that. We'll show you how the hatching works later. So one more thing, what does Stardust mean? Like, I've noticed you see that a lot, like as you're looking through your Pokemon, how strong they are, all that. There's this thing called Stardust.
So Stardust has an interesting history with Pokemon. Originally in the older games, you would find Stardust to just kind of be a unique item, but you just end up selling it. It wouldn't do anything. But in Pokemon Go, Stardust is kind of like almost a power source. If you want to make your Pokemon stronger, if you want to raise your combat power, you'll be using Stardust and candies as well, which is another dynamic involved with specific Pokemon lines. Okay, and candies basically you'll use to evolve your Pokemon later, as well as those are, you can, we can go deeper into that later, but essentially you're going to use the candies to evolve, right? All right, so in your app, when you have your app, you open your app, the main thing you see your little person wandering around, your avatar wandering around, and you have a Pokeball there. When you see a Pokemon, you can click on it to activate it, and then you can go from there and play. But before that, I want to talk about how do we know if there are Pokemon nearby other than when they show up on our screen? Okay.
So that menu, talk about that menu on the right-hand side, and I think I have a picture of it on the computer that we can show as well.
Yes. So when you're looking at your map, you'll see you'll have your player icon in the bottom left, the Pokeball in the middle, and then on the left you'll see little I guess avatars of other Pokemon. And when you click on that, as you can see on the screen, there are going to be a grid of Pokemon, each of them with little tiny footprints underneath them. And those footprints basically tell you how far away the Pokemon are.
Okay, so basically one footprint or no footprint, super close. One footprint close, 2 farther away, 3 super far, kind
Yes.
of. And you actually have the metrics, right? So 10 to 10 to 25 meters, 1 footprint. Then we have 25 to 50 meters, 2 footprints, and 50 to 100 meters, 3 footprints.
Yes, and if there's no footprints, generally the Pokemon is going to be right next to you. Like on occasion, I'll see 0 and be like, where is it? There's nothing next to me, and then like 5 seconds later, it just pops up.
Boom, pops up. I also noticed that there's a little light that flickers, like a little halo that comes in and out of that little box where you see the nearby Pokemon. And when that happens, it's usually because there's one right there or super close to you. So just keep an eye to these little pointers that they give you. As you start learning how to read them, it'll start making more sense.
And also, it's the amount of time that it takes between registering how far the Pokemon are. They tend to make everything more suited for walking. They really want to support the trainer experience because they didn't have cars in the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of an advantage over Ash Ketchum. But if you're in your vehicle, you may be making too much distance between the Pokemon by the time the game registers and tells you how far they are.
Yes.
So you may think you're getting closer, and you may just totally pass that Pokemon by, and then you'll see that you're close, and it might get confusing. So either drive super duper slow and make sure you're in the passenger seat while you're playing, or just walk around.
Or ride a bike. A bike might be a good way
Yes.
for you to get great speed, but not too fast. Because the app will register also how fast you're going, especially
Yes.
when we're talking about the egg incubation, right? You have to be, what is it? I think it's under 20,
I heard maybe 12.
maybe 12. Yeah, you have
That's
to be
about
slow.
maximum running speed is about 12 miles an hour.
So the idea is go out and play. Don't do it in your car, right? Or do it in the passenger seat, like
Yes.
you said. Safety first. But yeah, it does recognize how fast you're going, and so some things will be a little bit off, like Landon shared. How about though, Landon? When I look at my little nearby box, some of those Pokemon, I only see the silhouettes. What does
Okay.
that mean?
So you'll be aware if there is a Pokemon in your general location, they will show you that it is there. But if you've not seen the Pokemon before, you'll be given a silhouette. So when you first start off the game, you'll have your starter Pokemon encounter, and after that, every Pokemon's going to be new. Every Pokemon's going to be a grayed out silhouette, and you gotta go find them. You gotta go capture those Pokemon.
Yes, and when you capture the Pokemon, you get the points, right? Is it the experiences?
Yes.
So one of the cool things about catching and finding new ones, you get more points for those, right? So what is it? If you capture one Pokemon, you get 100 points generally?
Yes, 100 points for each capture.
Yes, and then if it's new, you get 100 points per capture plus 500 for the new Pokemon.
Yes.
Yes, so more incentive, because remember, the more of the experience points that you get, the higher level you'll be.
Yeah, so every time you get a new Pokemon, you'll get 500 XP, whether that is from hatching, catching, or evolutions.
Oh, nice. So how about some catching tips? Because we've been talking about catching Pokemon. How do we catch them? Give us some
Okay,
tips.
so again, like I said, the game just kind of tosses you in and hopes you to find out. So this information was accumulated through a lot of people on some communities on the internet. But when you first start, you'll see that there's a colored ring around the Pokemon, and when you hit your Pokeball, when you hold on to it, the ring will start shrinking in size, and eventually it'll get way too small and it'll go back big again. And so if you want to be more successful with your Pokeball throws, and because you don't want to be wasting all your Pokeballs.
Yes. Why?
Just you have a finite amount,
Okay.
so you want to be as efficient as you can, just for the sake of not running out.
Yes.
I heard someone last night who ran out of Pokeballs at a popular intersection, and so he either had to go home, find another Pokestop, or purchase more Pokecoins. But yeah, catching. So when the circle shrinks, it's going to be more successful. It's going to be a better throw. And there are going to be different colors on the circles. green, yellow, and red. Green's going to be the easiest. Red's going to be the most difficult. And so when you throw the ball, you want to get it within the circle, and whenever you hit accurately, then you'll catch the Pokemon, and they'll hop into the Pokeball. And hopefully they will shake 3 times, and you'll get that satisfactory click right afterwards.
Gotcha.
And so that's capturing. That's the basic. That's, if you want Pokemon, that's where you can call it good. But there's also different levels of experience that you can be getting while you're playing the game. You may see that when you throw the Pokeball and you hit it just perfectly right in the center, it'll say something like nice or gotcha or excellent. Those different words are different levels of experience that you got in the catch.
Yes.
So if you're making an accurate throw, you also have to gauge distance too. You'll be getting experience, and the smaller the circle, the more experience you'll be getting.
So, for example, if you get an excellent shot, that's 100 points. If you get a good, that's 50. And if you get a nice, that's 10 extra points. And how about curveballs?
Yes, so curveball is another quirky thing that you can do while capturing Pokemon. If you're spinning the ball before you throw it, you'll kind of put a little charge on it, and you might get like I think it's stars kind of pop out, and you get a little.
You can see it on the ball.
And when you toss it after the spinning, the ball will go out and sort of curve back towards the center, or maybe just curve way out of the screen if you do it kind of backwards. But if you hit a curveball, that's another 10 extra experience points.
Ah, nice. And just kind of random here before I forget. So I've played around with it. Is it, they call it the big ball? Or is it great ball?
Great ball and ultra ball.
Okay, so I've noticed this, and I could be wrong on this one, but I've been trying to figure out, okay, what exactly is the difference between the regular ball and the great ball, other than the name and what it's in theory does. But as I've been throwing them and experiencing them, I've actually noticed one thing today, especially. It was so let's say I had a Pokemon with me, and initially it showed it had a red ring next to it. So that means it's a harder catch, right?
Yes.
Then I switched, because it was a harder catch, I was like, oh, I'm going to use my great ball. So I switched to my great ball, and immediately I noticed that it became yellow.
Okay, perfect.
So then it's maybe making it becomes an easier catch, right? And then one more thing I want to share while we're here. How about is it raspberries?
Raspberries, yes.
Okay, tell us about those.
So raspberries are another item that you'll be getting through Pokestops and leveling up. I believe the first time you get a raspberry is at level 8.
Oh.
And so raspberries are a way to make the Pokemon a little friendly. You'll give it to them during the catching phase, and it'll make them easier to capture.
So let's say you're having a Pokemon that you're throwing balls, and you simply cannot get it. You'd maybe get a raspberry, throw it at him. You see a little heart when they really like it. They become a little bit more mellow. And then supposedly on your next throw, it'll become easier.
Yes.
But it's only on your next throw, right? So if you miss it, is it? Maybe not?
I thought it may have been continuous. I mean, the first time that I did it, I felt a little cautious about my second throw. But there's also another conversation going around on the internet that, well, you know how sometimes Pokemon can be aggressive when you're capturing them. They'll be jumping around. Sometimes they'll be headbutting you. But if you wait for them to mellow out, some of them might like nuzzle themselves, be a little more adorable.
And then you throw it.
That might be a better catch rate as well.
Okay.
So again, it's not explicitly said, but raspberries, they say it makes it easier. They don't specify for one Pokeball, and waiting for them to be calm isn't even mentioned. Calmness is not a factor in the text.
Okay.
But
those are just observations.
Yes.
And honestly, I will say that my personal experience with them hasn't been that great. Like, I don't notice much of a difference, and maybe it's just I don't know what I'm looking for.
There's a lot of factors.
What I've noticed is that every now and then I'll get that little message, your bag is full. And it's the dreaded message for me, because it's like you're at a Pokestop, you need more balls or something, and your bag is full. And then I notice it's because I have too many raspberries. And then I throw them, so then I start using them as I'm catching, And a lot of times I notice that I throw them, nothing happens, or maybe this is just me, but my ball just does a curveball even if I go just straight. I mentioned this to someone yesterday, and they said that maybe it was a glitch within the app, or it's supposed to do that. I'm not sure.
So there are a few random glitches. I have had that happen where I'd get a random curveball, and then I just, sometimes you just have to adapt and hope you get experience for it. And also, side note with the Pokestops, even when you do have a bag full of items, you will still be getting experience from those.
Oh.
So it's not a total loss after you flick it
I
and
didn't
have
know
to
that.
wait. Yeah.
Good. That's good to know.
50 experience. But yeah, there's a few glitches that tend to be happening. Of course, they're working really hard to get those flushed out. With the new 1.1 update, there have been a few incidents where your screen will kind of not interact with your finger anymore.
I've had that.
You'll be able to touch. You can't spin your map around, but you'll still kind of be walking.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, they'll flush it out. Sometimes you may have to restart your app every once in a while.
I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have on the screen here just to show, and I don't know if you can see very well, but the different the different colors of the rings that Landon was mentioning. So the green, the yellow, and the red, basically just difficulty. So that's kind of how you see it on your screen when you're trying to catch that.
And so the white circle on the outside is going to stay the same size. And as long as you hit it within the white circle, you'll get the capture is going to start.
Okay.
But if you want the experience points, you have to get it inside the colored circle.
Gotcha. And Landon, they can escape, right? Just because you catch them in your Pokeball doesn't mean that's it. That
they can fight. Yeah.
They can fight, and many times they do. And one thing that I've noticed as I've advanced in rank there, the catches that I've made, or the Pokemon that have been presented to me, their CP, their combat power also increases as you increase in level, as you level up. Yeah. And those usually are harder to catch, right? And so sometimes don't just assume. So I was doing this in the car the other day where I was in the passenger seat and I caught one. And then I caught one, no, I started trying to catch them. Yeah. But I had him in my little ball. So I'm like, okay, you can drive. And so she started driving off, but then he escaped. And the moment he escaped, poof, he disappeared off my screen because I was too far from where I originally got him.
So actually, you can have distance increase after you catch a Pokemon. If you're walking towards, unfortunately, there has been an occasion where younger people will walk into a street trying to find a Pokemon, and they either obstruct traffic or they might actually get hit. But you can walk away from the location, and you can still have the Pokemon with you.
But if you're too far,
I don't think that's actually a big problem. They will randomly disappear. I'm not sure what causes the Pokemon to run away. I saw Rhydon for the first time. I was really excited, but it was very difficult for me, and then he poofed, and I felt really bad about it.
Yes.
But I'm not 100% sure why that happened. Sometimes I had a Mankey. After one Pokeball, he just decided he wasn't down.
And he goes?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so how about some experience tips? Tell us some things. You were sharing me some tips on what you have to save and what you don't. I want to hear about those.
So, for experience, it's kind of a min-max thing. There's a lot of people on the internet who play RPG games to how do I get the most attack and how do I get the least speed decrease and all those random stats. But a few tips for getting a lot of experience besides the Lucky Egg. The Lucky Egg is something you'll be getting about every 5 levels, and it gives you double experience for 30 minutes. And the Lucky Egg pairs very nicely with lures and incenses, because then you'll be getting a ton of Pokemon, and then you'll be getting a ton of experiences as well. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, evolutions or evolving Pokemon is also a very key way to obtain experience. Every evolution that you do, you'll be getting 500 experience points, and every new Pokemon you unlock, you'll be getting another 500. So if you evolve your Pidgey for the first time and get a Pidgeotto, that's 1,000 experience.
Okay.
And so a very efficient way to be doing this is to collect a lot of evolutions in your Pokemon. It's not I guess Pokemon bag, I guess is what it's called. And then you can use a lucky egg, and then you can get as much experience for each of those evolutions. And Pidgeys are awesome because there are a ton of Pidgeys.
They're all over.
And they only need 12 candies to evolve into Pidgeotto. And so you can collect a lot of Pidgeys, and I think so if you catch 4 Pidgeys, you'll have enough candies to get a Pidgeotto. Every capture, you'll get 3 candies for that Pokemon. And then every time you transfer a Pokemon away, you'll be getting another candy as well to help with the evolution. And so collect a lot of Pidgeys and use the evolutions and like batch your evolutions if you want to get a lot of experience.
And that's a good tip, because I hear this a lot where people are like, "Oh no, I already have this Pidgey or this Rattata, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get it. I have too many." But you do. You want to get it because it increases your XPs, and like he said, you get the candies that later will allow you to evolve that Pokemon so that you can get more XPs later.
Yes, and I mean, when you get experience, you'll level up, and then that really cool Pokemon that you're looking forward to is now going to be a higher combat level.
Yes. Yeah, that's true, because that's a good point too, because as it evolves, it becomes a stronger Pokemon,
Yes.
right? Some Pokemon naturally are low combat power, but
Yeah.
but some of them are really good. Like, and as you evolve, like I've noticed how do you pronounce it? The Eevee?
Eevee, yeah.
After my evolution, and it's like a power up, I have it at 700, and I didn't even do much for it. And so now I know that this is a stronger Pokemon that I can use at a gym.
Eevees are like really important because they're going to be some of your quickest, like, just good Pokemon. And of course, Eevees are interesting because they have a different evolution that's randomly chosen when you evolve them.
Yes, 3 different kinds of evolutions, right?
Yes, there's Jolteon, which is electric, Flareon, which is a fire type, and then Vaporeon, which is water. And it's kind of fun because those are red, yellow, and blue as well, and that's how we have our team set up as well. And my first Eevee matched the color with my team, so I was really excited with that. But yeah, Eevees are really good to get a high-leveled Pokemon or high combat power Pokemon to help you take on battles and gyms. And yeah.
Yes, and some people out there speculate that you can tell what kind of Pokemon evolution you're gonna get from your Eevee and how they fight. But as far as I know, it's just completely random, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about combat. We're talking about gyms and stuff. So let's go a little bit deeper into that.
Okay, so.
And how did the gyms actually affect our experiences?
So the gyms okay, I'm going to start at the very bottom of this. So when you go to a gym, you'll see that trainers have left Pokemon there to basically defend the gym and provide a battle for someone who wants to challenge them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it may just be one Pokemon hanging out. Other times you'll have 3. I think I've seen 7 as the max. Too. Yeah. So you can have a lot of Pokemon in a gym. And every time you battle this gym, every time you win a fight against the gym, they'll go down 1 level.
Okay.
So if there's 7 Pokemon and you beat all 7 miraculously, it'll go down to 6, and then it'll get easier and easier for you to take the gym back down to 0.
So basically, if you have a gym that's gym level and you see 6, let's say it's a gym level 4, you basically need to fight and win every 4 rounds, essentially,
yes.
right, before you can claim that gym. So one thing before we dive into that, I feel like we need to talk about the teams. Because you just mentioned the colors.
The teams.
So the red, yellow, blue. And tell us more about that.
So when you approach level 5 is when you'll unlock the gyms, and you'll be given an option to choose from 3 different teams. It is Team Instinct, which is yellow. They favor Zapdos. That's their mascot. Team Blue, which is Team Mystic, and their mascot is Articuno. and Team Valor is red, and theirs is Moltres. And right now there isn't a incentive to either team besides just some philosophy that is given to each of them. Team Instinct, they seem to be interested in the process of hatching eggs and intuition. Team Mystic is interested in evolutions and knowledge of Pokemon. And Team Valor is they just want tough Pokemon, and they're fiery, they're passionate.
Okay, great. And you can tell, so a gym is claimed by one of those teams, right, every time? And you can tell what gym that is, what team that is, based on the color of the gym as you're passing by, right? Okay, we're going to go a little bit deeper even into how to fight and all of that. But one of your main tips was, Lennon, catch a lot of Pidgeys, like you said.
Yeah.
Because they
Catch
will
all the Pokemon.
Catch all of them. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I think. Because they'll give you the candies and so forth. You mentioned transferring. So when you have so you have your Pidgeys and you want to transfer them, you basically, as a trainer, you can transfer them to the professor so that he can continue studying these Pokemon, right? And in exchange for that, he gives you one candy. How to transfer that Pokemon, I actually have the shot on the screen that you can see. When you go to that Pokemon screen, at the very bottom, so you see the combat power, all that, at the very bottom there's an option transfer. You click there, it's going to ask you if you want to transfer to the professor. This is non-reversible, so basically if you have to be certain of what you're transferring, and then you go yes, and you transfer it. And then you basically get your candy, and off your Pokemon goes. Now, we were talking earlier before this started, saying about what to transfer and what not to transfer. And you said you basically transfer everything that you think you're not going to use, right?
So, yeah, I try to keep my list small. And because I'm trying to level up as quickly as I can, because I fell behind you. So I need to catch up now. Yes. So I've got a lot of Pidgeys, and I've got a lot of candies from them. And so you need the candies for evolutions, yes. And personally, if I don't see myself leveling up a Pokemon like within the next catch, then I'll just transfer it.
Okay.
Because eventually you'll be finding that Pokemon again, and you'll have the same amount of candies. And actually, no, you'll have more when you find them again and catch them. So if I've got one candy on a Pokemon, I know that the next one that I catch, I'm not going to be evolving, so I'm comfortable transferring them, just getting the candy and preparing myself for later, and just giving myself some space to look at my favorite Pokemon more so.
So you don't also run into the issue, which I did have, which is my Pokemon bag or my Pokemon storage is full.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, you have something that you really need, but it's full, and then you need to transfer. I had to do, So, but my strategy so far has been transferring anything up to 100 combat power.
Okay, yeah. All the little weaklings that tend to pop out.
Yeah. But I'm starting to, you're kind of convincing me there. I might start transferring more if I'm not going to use them for combat later because they're too low, or if they're not going to evolve because I don't have enough candies, then, maybe I'll start transferring them.
Yeah, and side note, because I just came over here and I happened to find an Arbok when I was outside, and I was really excited. My first Arbok, I still have him. I'm not going to be catching another one soon. I don't know if I will. But there's a
sentimental value.
I keep a little sentimental, yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm trying to be as efficient with my space as I can.
Okay, sweet. So hatching tips. Let's go a little bit. We talked about hatching eggs and how they work.
Distances.
But how about let's go a little bit more. Just to explain. I want you to actually see on the screen the different incubators that you can use.
Yes. So the blue one in the center, that's what you start with, and you'll be able to use that. I believe that's the one you start with. You'll be able to use that an infinite number of times.
Okay.
And the orange one on the left is something that you'll be given when you level up, or you could purchase it from the store, and that has a 3-time use.
So you gave me a tip in the beginning. I want you to share it with our viewers as well, of what incubator to use when.
So each time you use an incubator, it is going to stop when the egg hatches. And there's different distances. There's 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, and 10 kilometers. And you can choose to just do the higher distance eggs in the triple use ones so that you get the most distance out of each incubator. And then for the smaller one, for the 2 meter, you just crank it out in your infinite one because you're not going to be running out of those.
Yes.
But you will be getting 3 Pokemon either way from them, but you'll be having them for a longer duration of time if you're using the larger distances.
Gotcha. And the larger distance eggs will give you different. Each egg will give you a different kind of Pokemon.
Yes.
The 10 kilometers one are more select, right? More rare, I suppose I could say.
Yes.
And then the 5 and the 2 are probably more common.
There are lists that will specify which Pokemon are which. From the 2 distance category, I know that all the starters, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, that's where you find those, as well as Magikarp, which there's a lot of interest in Magikarp because they're finally useful now. Because Gyarados is a monster, and you need 400 candies to get a Gyarados.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you're trying to crank that out, definitely use those 2s. And then the 5 distance, there's a lot of cool Pokemon in there. But the 10, which I've actually not been able to find a 10 egg yet.
Oh, I've hatched 2 already.
Ooh, shoot.
Gotcha.
There's the fossil Pokemon are in there. So I don't know if you see giant dinosaurs or ancient sea Pokemon. That's where they'll be, as well as I believe Snorlax is in there too. But yeah, the 10s, I'd really like to get one of those. And I don't know if there's a way to toss out eggs. I think that.
But they don't occupy space in your bag.
Yes, you'll be given 9 egg slots.
Yes.
They are their unique space.
And to actually access them, when you go, so when you click on, you go to your
Pokemon?
You go to your Pokemon. No, you click on the little Pokeball where you can see, and then Pokemon where you can see all the different ones that you have. There's a little, you swipe right, and you can see the eggs that you have, and you actually need to specifically click to and select which you want, and then which incubator you want to use in order to hatch those. And the app needs to be, so it'll count. Remember, if you go too fast, if you're in a car just riding around, it's not going to count against the time that they want you to.
For the distances, yeah. So if you're going too fast, it won't be counting. But if you happen to live in a rural neighborhood with a lot of stop signs, every time you slow down, you'll be getting just a little bit of distance. So if you decide that you want to take a scenic route home, you'll be hatching your eggs quicker.
Yes. And when it happens, and I have a shot on the screen that you can see, you get this little, and then you click
What's
on it.
What's happening? Something's moving.
And then it tells you, it kind of cracks, and then it tells you what you've got. And it's always so much fun. And you get the experiences too, right?
Yes,
like
experience. All the experience
All
points.
the experience. All right, so we've been talking about gyms. Let's talk about battling tips.
Battling tips. So usually, or historically, Pokemon battles have been turn-based. Each player would choose a move, and then at the same time, they would both make an attack. Pokemon Go, they decided that because it's real life, and they need to make a way for it to be, I guess, consistent with the real world time. You can't pause and wait for someone else to move. So it's a tap-based system. And so each tap that you do, you'll be making an attack. And they also have super attacks. So when you're looking through your Pokemon stats, you'll see a basic attack with a somewhat low damage potentially. And then you'll see attack below that with a blue bar or multiple blue bars. And those are your super attacks or your stronger attacks. And to use those, you hold, and then you'll do the attack.
Yes. My recommendation, though, is don't do the super attack right at the beginning because it takes a little bit of time. In fact, I've noticed that as soon as I enter, like I start a battle, so I enter a gym and I click go to start, so there are a couple things you can do. You can dodge, you can do the normal attack, or you can do the super attack, right? So to dodge, you swipe sideways. That's how you dodge. Then by tapping, you can do the normal attack, and then the super attack, like he said, you can tap and hold. So I've noticed that right when I start, I usually dodge because it takes a second for them to attack. And then I start attacking, and then I do a tap and hold, and because it takes a second. And then it does that super attack, and it's really kind of cool because you see the graphics. Each Pokemon does something
all the
different.
electricity or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then you go, and usually I've noticed that even after a super attack, it'll tell you that it's going to happen, but then you dodge because you can actually get hit.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see other Pokemon that they might be charging through the battle, because timing is really important. So always be observant of what each Pokemon is doing, as well as the effects that show up on your screen.
Yes.
Right before you get hit, you'll be given a yellow hue around the edge, and that's when you should be trying to dodge.
In fact, I think, do we have that we have this picture that we can
Yeah,
show?
there's a little feint at the bottom. That's your cue, and you also see it on the sides of your screens as well. But that's the time to dodge.
And you see the little yellow arrows kind of around. And then you know that you have to swipe sideways to dodge.
Yeah, and usually it'll be about between every dodge there might be 1 to 2 seconds where you can do an attack, and then you get ready to dodge again. Sometimes you'll only be able to get 1 in. Sometimes you'll get 2. Sometimes you'll have enough for your super attack. But if you can efficiently time your dodges, you can battle Pokemon that have like double your combat power, and if you're super good at it, you can potentially not need to use any potions and you won't take any damage.
Nice. Because that's a good point. So let's say after a battle, let's just say you're not super awesome, super good.
You take a
super
few
awesome.
hits. You
take a few hits, and now your Pokemon, what happens basically after that? What do you need to do?
Yeah. So if during the battle, there is always a chance that your Pokemon could actually faint afterwards and run out of health points. And so when that happens, you'll switch in your next Pokemon, then you'll keep going. But after the battle, you'll have to be using your items to heal up your Pokemon. You'll be given Revive is a yellow diamond shape, and those will bring your health back up from 0 to half health. And then you'll have different types of potions. You'll start out with normal potions, they're called potions, and those do 20 HP, and then you'll be getting super potions that do 50.
And explain HP.
HP is health points.
Okay.
So every time you get hit, you'll be losing a certain amount of health points, and each attack has a different damage to it, and they'll do different health points. And so you'll be healing those with, the potions originally, or at the beginning, they will do 20. Super potions do 50, and then hyper potions do 200 HP.
And does that affect the combat power of my Pokemon?
So the combat power is going to kind of give you a reference to how much HP that you may have. So of course, if you have 2 identical Pokemon, one of them has more combat power, they're going to probably have more health points.
Okay. And so let's say I revive after a battle, I revive or I give them the super potion or whatever it is. Is that long-lasting effect on that Pokemon, or once I use those potions, it's back to normal?
So once you use the potion will disappear, and then the HP will be added back to the Pokemon. So if you have 40 HP and you die, and then use a revive, you'll get half of that back, so it'll be at 20. And then you can use a potion to go all the way up, and then your Pokemon's healthy.
Back to normal.
You can hang out for a while, you can go for a walk, or you can go and battle again.
So that's pretty much how I've been doing. So let's say I go into a gym, it's a level 4 gym, I go my first round, beat all of them, it brings down the gym to level 3, then I basically get out of that gym, go use my revive, my potions, get my HP for the Pokemon back up, and then I go back to the gym, and
Win again.
Win again. That's how I roll. No, and then win again, and then basically go back, revive potions, go back, win again, and then take over the gym.
Yeah, and so another thing another time that you will be using the potions is that once you have claimed the gym, you will, if you want to be the gym leader, you need to leave a Pokemon at the gym.
That's strong.
Yes. Or if you leave a strong Pokemon, then it's going to be more difficult for other people to take the gym. But this is
You also won't
kind of
have
overlooking it. Yeah, you won't have your strongest Pokemon to take another gym if you wanted to get more experience and some more battling time in. And if you leave your strongest Pokemon, they can still beat it if they know how to dodge well. And so it's almost better for you to bring your like have your team of 6, and then just kind of leave everyone else, leave a mascot, maybe the star Pokemon you have at the beginning, you could toss that around everywhere if you wanted. But when your gym gets taken by someone else, your Pokemon is going to come back to you.
Beat up.
Yeah, so that's when you'll be using your potions again. I think they have 1 health. They don't faint all the way. But yeah, you'll have to heal them up afterwards. And so if you have one of your key players always coming back, beaten up, and you're just wasting all your potions on it, you could have been using a different one. You could have been tossing a Pidgey, just tossing it in there,
So it's
let
a
it hang
matter
out.
of pride kind of thing. Like if
Yeah.
you want to be the king of the gym, then go ahead, use your strongest one. But if in terms of strategy, Landon suggests that you don't leave your strongest player there, because later on, if you want to fight another gym or another battle, go to a different gym, then you use that strong Pokemon to do that.
I might suggest leaving a rare Pokemon just to get everyone curious. And yeah, no, feel good.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing though, let's say, so you can battle at your gym, the gyms that aren't your team, right? So if
Yes.
I'm Team Yellow, which we both happen to be, then we notice a gym that's blue or red, we can go there and battle and actually claim that gym.
Yeah.
But what if I go to a yellow gym? What happens then?
So if you go to a friendly team gym, you'll be given 2 options, and at the moment, I'm not sure what guarantees the second option. But the first option is going to be you can battle the gym. You can basically have a friendly fight with whoever's owning the
So
gym.
you're training up.
Yeah, you'll be training. Every time that you train, the value number of the gym is going to go up. And the higher up it is, the more times your enemy teams are going to have to battle you to get you back down to 0.
Do you get experience points when you're training at a gym?
Yes, you should be
Okay.
getting experience every time that you successfully beat a gym. And then the second option, which is going to be at the friendly gym, and I believe it needs to be a high enough level, so fight or train with your gym until it levels up to another tier, and then you can leave your Pokemon there. And so the other day after one of our shootings, you, me, and Shahar, we went to a local church gym, and we took them down. We battled them. I think they had 6 at the beginning, but we all left a Pokemon there, so we had 3 guys hanging out, and it was awesome.
Yes, it really was.
And so yeah, so those are the 2 options you'll be given with the gym interactions.
So I could be wrong on this, but so let's say you go to a friendly neighborhood gym from your team, and you're there training. If you successfully beat the person you're training with, you can leave a Pokemon there.
Yes.
So know that you can do that. And why would you leave a Pokemon at a gym that you didn't really battle for?
So this is going to go back to the Pokecoin thing that we kind of hinted to. There's a thing called, I believe it's Defender points.
Yes.
Defender.
Yeah, well, let's do this.
Yeah, okay.
We'll talk about the Defender points when we actually talk about claiming your gym, which we're doing now. So basically, you can practice at a gym, or you can battle and actually claim a gym. So when that happens, like so you said, we went to the church gym close by and we battled them. So once you win and you bring that gym level to 0, that gym becomes white, and we can actually see it on the screen. That gym becomes white, and so which means it's neutral right now. Then you can either revive and all of that, but essentially you want to claim that gym as quickly as possible, right?
Yes.
Because then you claim it as yours, and so now, for example, in our case, Team Instinct now is ruling over the church gym behind here. And so the process that happens, you basically click on that white gym to enter it. There will be a little icon on the left corner at the bottom that you can click. It's going to say, hey, do you want to transfer? And then you pick who you want to send, who you want to give to that gym. And like Landon said, you might not want to do your strongest one.
Yeah.
And then you say, he's going to ask, are you sure? You go, yes. And then the moment you do, boom, it happens. And now that gym becomes Team Instinct gym, for example. One cool thing that I thought, it was a fun thing. Basically, so let's say you battled this gym, and you're about to claim it. It went down to 0, it's white, it's there. Well, let's say some person that's Team Red is walking by and they notice that this is a white gym. They can actually click on it and claim it even if they didn't battle it. And so yesterday I had a couple of occasions that was so fun actually, because there was a fire station gym and it was red. And so Shahar and I, we went there. Oh, that's funny. Fire station red. Perfect. Shahar and I were there, and we basically claimed that gym. We fought hard, and we claimed it. But there was a Team Red person there, which I'm assuming lives inside of the fire station, perhaps. Oh. And they quickly took over they battled us, and they basically reclaimed ownership of that gym. But what we sat there, so we watched this. And so then they battled, and the moment it became white, we claimed it again. And so then it was still a Team Instinct.
Yeah.
And then they battled again, so we just sat in that parking lot for maybe a half hour. They battled again. The moment it became white, we claimed it, because we were just ready for it to become white. And so I think we went through maybe 4 rounds of this, where they battle, they win, we claim it. They battle, they win, they claim it. And so I'm sure they were very annoyed. We were actually trying to see if they were close by, just to see, because it was so much fun. Yeah. Something similar happened also when we were at a park. So we were leaving the park, and this what is the Team Red called?
Team Valor. So
Team Valor, they basically, the gym was Team Valor, and the blue team came and they beat them. And so it was white as we were driving by. And so we claimed it, and we made it Team Instinct, and it was so much fun because we were driving by, so we had the windows rolled down, and they were like, I don't know what just happened. It's not ours. And we're just driving by with this huge grin, and the guy was like, it doesn't matter. Jolteon, your Jolteon is going down anyways. It took them like 30 seconds to beat us. Okay,
yeah. It's very quick. It goes up and down.
But it's just fun. Anyway, so that's how you claim a gym. But one very important thing that I found out later, after having claimed a few gyms myself, was that you can do the defender points, like you said, right? And so what you do is, the moment you claim that gym, you click and you go to your shop, and I have a shot of it. On the right-hand side at the very top, when you're in your shop, there's a little button, and it'll say how many gyms you have claimed. And you click there, and it's going to give you the Defender rewards. And it's the only other way that you can get coins for free. If I'm not mistaken, it's the only other way. So far, as of now, I believe I got 10 coins when I claimed that one gym. And then you have to keep it for 20 hours. And then I believe you get extra perks for each time period thereafter.
I believe you can immediately claim your rewards. But you also get 100 Stardust as well. Yes.
Good. And just so, I don't know if you saw, but on that, there's a timer. It keeps a timer there. And so, for example, I checked before we went live today, so this was last night, and it says that I have 5 or 3, I don't know what it says there, I can't see, but like 3 hours left. And so then I know, so when it hits that 20-hour limit, I'll probably get something else. I'm about to find out right after this if no one claims the gym until then. But of course, it resets. If your gym gets claimed by another team, then you lose that. One thing, Landon, what is the advantage of going with multiple people? So you said that we went to that gym, like the three of us. Why would you do that versus just you fighting by yourself?
So besides the fun social aspect, the gyms they're given some sort of number value or a power, and you need to get that power down to 0. And each time you beat the gym, it goes down a bit. I think it's maybe 350 each time. And so if you have multiple people on the same team attacking the gym, actually, I guess you could have, if you have other teams attacking one gym, which I guess happened in your scenario a few times, that number will go down much quicker, and then you can put your Pokemon there, and then it becomes more difficult to take over and easier to defend when you have multiple Pokemon there as well. So when we left 3 Pokemon there, so the people who wanted to take that gym after that, they had to fight all 3, and then one would get lost, then they'd have to fight 2, and then they have to fight the final one. But if you went by yourself, there'd just be one Pokemon hanging out,
and that's it.
Yeah, and then because you can fight with 6 Pokemon when you take on a gym, and so if there's only one hanging out, it's kind of impossible to not take it out. It's become so easy when you can have another Pokemon in, and it keeps switching.
Yes, and when you're fighting with other people too, you actually see them inside, right? So
yes.
The 3 of us go together and we're battling there, and you're doing your dodges and stuff, but I can actually see your Pokemon fighting as well.
It's like some sort of a circle, maybe octagon. I don't know how many people they expect battling at once. But yeah, when you swipe around, I don't know if you or Shahar had Eradicate, but I kept seeing that over and over when I'd spin around the playing field.
Yeah. And one thing, Lennon, does it help to know what kind of Pokemon are in that gym when you're selecting which one you're going to use? Does my question make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I was called the Pokemaster in high school, so I think I know what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, each Pokemon is going to have a different typing, and each attack is going to have a different typing as well. So
for example, if I have a Pidgeotto, I'm battling against.
Okay, so yeah, so if there's a gym full of Pidgeottos, that's going to be they're going to be flying normal is what Pidgeottos are, and flying is weak to rock, ice, and electric.
Oh.
So if you have moves that are any of those typings, then you can use those against those Pidgeottos, and if they're super effective, you'll be doing double damage. And if your super attack is super effective, then that's just a ton of damage just coming out at once. But you also need to take into consideration that so flying types are strong against fighting. Mm-hmm. So a fighting type move is going to be weak against flying. Sometimes they're back and forth, sometimes it's one-sided, but fighting is weak to flying. So if you're using a fighting type Pokemon and you're hitting this bird over and over, you're going to be doing not very effective damage, and that'll actually be half as much.
Gotcha.
So your super attack is kind of just going to slap, I guess. Not really going to do as much damage as you may have hoped or as cool as it looks.
Gotcha. So it helps to know your Pokemon, basically, the type when you're selecting who you're going to battle against. And just so you know, you can actually click, if you go, I think, to your Pokedex, or if you just click on the Pokemon that you have, you can read all about them. It actually kind of tells you what type they are. And there are charts I saw online that will tell you what you use to fight against what, in case you don't know, in case you're not a Pokemaster like Landon. But just to mention the Pokedex, actually, that is the ultimate goal, right? To get at least one of each Pokemon.
To clear the Pokedex.
Clear that Pokedex. We have one question here from the chat that we mentioned it already, but let's answer it as well.
Okay.
How do you get raspberries?
So raspberries, those are the items that make it easier to capture Pokemon. You'll be getting those randomly, as well as by leveling up. Pokestops will be giving you items, and that's where I find most of my raspberries.
You'll find there your raspberries, your potions, your super potions,
Yes.
your revives, Pokestops.
But you do need to be level 8 before you can start getting those raspberries. The first time I saw Rhydon, I think I was level 7, so he ran away and I felt bad. And then I got a raspberry. I was like, I wish I had this earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so level 8, you'll be getting them from Pokestops and by leveling up. It's not guaranteed for each level. They kind of have a set reward system.
Yes. And one tip, so this is, because you mentioned, so I'm level 16, last 4 days, more or less, that's how long it took. One of my big tips on how I got there, and we kind of alluded to it earlier, but I want to make sure that focus a little bit of attention there. Keep in mind that basically, like we said, you advance levels, you level up as you accrue the XP, the experience points, right? So that's the main thing. So there's one of the things that you get, and that you can also buy and get more, the lucky egg. And the lucky egg will basically double the points of everything that you get. In other words, if you capture a Pokemon, normally it's 100 points. You're gonna accrue 200 points. If it's a new Pokemon, and you're gonna get 100 for, like we said before, you get 100 for the capture plus 500 because it's a new Pokemon. Then now, instead of 600 points, you get 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your lucky eggs are really neat because they help you build up the experience points so that you can level up. So here's what I like to do. I like to go to, you can either use the incense for yourself, or you can go somewhere where you have the lure modules activated, right? So when it looks like it's little rain, like the Pokestops are raining, or it has the little pink stuff floating around.
There's it's kind of cool. With a lot of coffee shops and bars are using Pokestops as a sort of way to advertise.
Yes.
So you can go hang out and have a drink and catch some Pokemon as well.
Exactly. In fact, I'll show you a screenshot a little later. But there's a place next to my house, it's a hospital, and they have a little park bench area, and there are 4 Pokestops just there. So you can sit in the middle and have all the 4 Pokestops within range. And so last night we went there, and so I was a level 13, almost 14, but we went there, and so we sat in the middle, and then I activated a Pokestop, my friend activated a Pokestop, Shahar activated a Pokestop
the lures
with the lure modules. And so now we had four Pokestops with lure, which means we get more Pokemon coming our way, right? So you get those for 30 minutes. At the same time, so right after I activated the module, I activated my lucky egg, which you also get for 30 minutes. So for the 30 minutes that I'm going to get a bunch of Pokemon coming my way, so I'm going to get double points, right? At that time, so then I get the Pokemons that are there, but kind of when it slows down, then I go into my Pokemon bag, I guess, and I see which ones I have that I can evolve. And so then I started evolving as many Pokemon as possible because you get points for evolution. How many points do you normally get for evolution?
I believe evolutions you get 500 points, and if you get a new Pokemon to your Pokedex, that's another 500.
Exactly, so either 500 or 1,000, right? And so then, because you're using your lucky egg, you're now getting 1,000 or 2,000 per evolution. And so quickly, I leveled up 2 levels to level 16, basically, at the end of the night, just with that strategy, essentially. So I leveled up 1 level during the 30-minute period by basically evolving my Pokemon and then getting the new ones from what was happening there. And so I did prepare for that. I knew I was going to do that. And so the night before, so basically now I get in bed, I get my phone, and I start transferring things to the professor. So that's what I did.
A little organizing.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew I was going to do that last night. So the night before, I basically transferred a bunch of things to the professor so I could get my candy, get all of my candies, and then I knew that I had enough to actually evolve them
Yes.
during the...
I've got like 20 Pokemon right now waiting to evolve with the Lucky
Yes.
Egg.
So wait for the lucky egg. That's definitely my recommendation. And wait for a place where you can do that you can use the lures or the incense. So if you're going to use the incense, I would suggest, like you said, like kind of walk around.
Yeah, a little speed.
But you're doing a lot of like evolve this, evolve that, and you're on a time limit, and so you're looking down a lot. So that's why I really like the spot that we had the 4 lures going on at the same time.
And so someone did some time crunching. So if you wanted to just do a ton of evolutions, the animations for the evolutions, you can't skip them. And so someone did some math, but you can have optimally 72 Pokemon evolutions within 30 minutes. And that's a lot of experience.
Yes, that's a lot of, you definitely level up there. Yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't do as many as that, but I know I did at least 10.
Yeah, and so you also be getting lucky eggs every 5 levels. So if you I'm not sure if you get one at level 5, but 10, 15, 20, and 25 you'll be getting a lucky egg. And so if you're, right now I'm kind of hoarding on to my 2 eggs that I have. And so as soon as I think I'll be getting to level 15, I'm going to use that lucky egg. I'm going to toss out all of those evolutions, and then I'll have another one right afterwards, and then I can keep building up and climbing from there.
And the cool thing too is as you're leveling up, you're going to be exposed to different Pokemon that normally you wouldn't get if you were a level 3, let's say. And so if that transition, if you plan that out a little, and that transition of level happens while you're with your lucky egg and while you're with your lure modules going on, you're going to start seeing Pokemons that you don't have in your Pokedex, which means then you're also going to get double for that. So that happened last night as well with me. Like I got 2 of them that I did not have besides the evolution that just came to the Pokestops. And so then you get the double points for that. So that's a really good tip for you to level up. It's that I found, at least, one of the fastest ways to do that. But you kind of have to plan around it. I have a little picture just for you to see. So seek the locations with more than 1 Pokestops and then activate the lure modules. So this was us last night. So that's me right there in the middle. And we had 4 Pokestops. I guess when I took that screenshot, I only had 3 of them activated. But you have 4 Pokestops with the lure modules going on, and we were sitting right in the middle.
I'd like to point out something with the Pokestops right now. So 3 of those right there that have the circles around them are purple.
Yes.
And then 1 of them is blue.
Yes.
The blue ones are ones that you can click on and you can activate and you can get your items and your experience. The purple ones are ones that you have just done.
Yes.
And so it takes about 5 minutes for those to reset. And those final 30 seconds, it'll kind of be like a lavenderish color. And then you can start doing it again. And so if you do find a location, and last night I was over at the Vivint Sports Center, and directly north of it there were 4 very close, and there was just a random crowd of people. So I had to get on my car and I had to hang out for a little bit. But you'll be catching Pokemon at each of those lures, and then after 5 minutes you'll have 4 Pokestops to get Pokeballs from.
Yes.
And then you can just keep on going and keep on getting Pokemon, and it's when you find somewhere with some good energy, some good connection, it'll just kind of steamroll into each other, and you'll just get growing up great experiences. You'll talk to other people, and you'll find new Pokemon.
It's a lot of fun. I actually had a blast last night doing just that. And that's another good tip that you gave about the every 5 minutes, because that was exactly it. So after you catch all of your, every 5 minutes, just keep an eye, because you can re-access the Pokestops, and remember, you get double the points. So now instead of, 50 experience points that you normally get for a Pokestop,
yes,
you get 100 if your lucky egg is activated. So definitely a cool thing to do. Yeah, I was going to say something and I forgot what it was. But yeah, about the Pokestops that you were talking.
Well, okay, so I guess maybe a public service announcement, maybe a little caution with Pokestops. Strange neighborhoods and walking alone at night are still dangerous when you're playing Pokemon.
Yes.
So if I actually heard a story of someone who got robbed at a Pokestop, because some thieves were setting up lures and attracting people to like isolated locations, and then they were going to rob them for their phone because that's how they got there. And I think fairly early on, someone was actually assaulted in a bad neighborhood that they were kind of, just staring at their phone, not paying attention to anyone, and they got their iPhone stolen from them. So be cautious.
Yes, definitely be cautious, because it's very easy to get involved in this virtual world and then kind of forget your surroundings.
In a real world, you're still there.
You're still in the real world.
Yeah.
Yes. One thing, Lennon, that a gentleman mentioned last night that I thought was interesting was and so I can't vouch for this 100% or about any of this, I suppose, since we're all kind of learning as we're going. But one of the things that he said was that phone density determines Pokemon activity. So he downloaded the Ingress, is it Ingress that you call it? The Ingress app from the game, from the people that made this Pokemon.
From Niantic.
Niantic, right? Yeah, who made the Pokemon GO app. And through that, you can see on there on the map where the activity is, where people are with their phones. And he basically overlapped that with what he saw as far as activity with Pokemon appearances, and where there were it basically coincided, where there was a lot of cell phone density, a lot of people using their phones, were a lot of Pokemon appearances. So that's kind of interesting. We did notice that yesterday when we got to the Pokestops, we were the first ones there, and within basically minutes, if minutes, we had a bunch of people there.
Okay,
and all night it was just Pokemon after Pokemon.
Yeah, I was working last night, and I haven't used a lure before, so I'll just toss one because we had one at the office or at the restaurant. And I saw a few people walking by with their phones.
Yeah.
They just hung out a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, you're totally using my lure. Yeah.
Cool. So I believe we've covered everything that we've planned for. If you have any other questions, now is your chance to ask while we talk a little bit more here. What do you want to say?
So one quick thing that was kind of confusing. You know how sometimes you'll get a little rustle of grass?
Oh, yes.
Originally when I started, I thought that was, I got to walk right to where that is. That's probably where Pokemon is, because that's kind of how the old games would kind of allude to something interesting. But rustling grass just shows you where there's a higher chance of finding Pokemon.
So it doesn't mean you're going to find a Pokemon there, but there's a chance.
Yes, it increases it.
Yeah, so if there's a Pokemon that you see is close by,
a lot of parks.
And you see the little grass kind of moving, kind of look towards there, you might get lucky that way. What else? Anything else? Any last minute remarks?
That in there.
Okay, so if you have any questions, send them in. If not, I think we've covered everything that we had. So remember, Landon, what he said, be cautious, right? Remember, you're still in the real world, so safety first, but go catch some Pokemon, and I guess that's we're gonna wrap this right now, and we're gonna go catch that gym in the street nearby. Well, thank you for joining us with Curious Mondo. I'm Nash. This is Landon. See you next time.